Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 12 of English 124, Writing About Literature. So, we wrote about short fiction, and then we wrote about poetry, and now we're starting our unit on drama. This week, I have a lecture for you, kind of similar to the other two units, the elements of drama, so looking at those literary elements and devices that are specific to plays. You're going to be reading 3 short plays this week: Sure Thing, Before Breakfast, and The Sandbox. So I picked Sure Thing because it reads weird on the page. That's not a very grammatically correct sentence for your professor to be saying, but it is true. On the page, Sure Thing, when I've had people, like, I've taught this only, I think, in person classes, and I've had people pair up to read it back and forth to each other, and it kind of reads in a strange way. The basic idea is that there are 2 people, Betty and Bill, and they're meeting for the first time, and they keep messing up. So a bell goes off, ding, and it's kind of like Groundhog Day or Russian Doll, that show on Netflix, if you've seen that, where they keep starting over. So each time they mess up, they get another chance. And there is, I think, a lot there in terms of the way that we judge each other on things like social class, where you were born, what school you went to, what you like to read, even things like what you like to eat and what movies you like. The other reason I chose that play is because you're going to be watching some adaptations of it. And the adaptations that I found on YouTube are really quite different. So it kind of shows you the ways that on a page, one director might read it totally different from another director. And the interpretation comes out in the choices of the director, the stage, and the actual sets, the choices that the actors and actresses make. The one version of Sure Thing that I found is really quite more serious. And the other is done like a zany comedy. So it's really interesting to see the tone is completely different, even though the words are really the same. The next play is called Before Breakfast. Before Breakfast is a monologue delivered by one character to her husband, who is off stage, so we don't actually see him. But the reason that I liked it is because even though it's just one person talking the whole time, you get those elements that we talked about, like in short fiction, of characterization and conflict, and the tension between this woman and her husband builds and builds up to a point. So you find out why she's nagging him, why he feels trapped, and the conflict between them and how that grows and builds. So it's kind of interesting to me that the playwright can really get all of that characterization and tension out of one person talking for like 10 minutes. Fascinating. The play The Sandbox is also a little bit weird, and I picked it for you because it is a little bit strange. So it's what's called an absurd play, and that means that the author, kind of by definition, the theater of the absurd was big in the 1960s, which is when this play is from Edward Albee. But they're trying to portray the absurdities or the ridiculousness of human life using illogical and kind of confusing action and dialogue. Here, the playwright has a very strong message about how we treat the elderly and how the mommy and daddy are treating the elderly grandmother in a way that's really kind of like they're infantilizing her. They're treating her like a baby. So that's kind of the premise of the play. I included, you don't have to watch them, but I included adaptations of Before Breakfast and The Sandbox. The Sandbox in particular, I think, is hard to see because it is really filming a full stage, so it's a little bit more difficult to see and hear, but it was one of the only ones that I could find. So why did I pick that play? I picked it because it was short. There's a lot of symbolism in it, and I think it's important that you guys are exposed to a lot of different kinds of plays the way that we looked at a lot of different kinds of poems. So you have a discussion forum on the plays this week. Make sure that you read them first and then watch the videos, and make sure also to watch the lecture for this week because it'll set you up for the next couple weeks as we continue our talks about drama. That's it. I hope you like the plays, and I can't wait to see your thoughts on them. Thanks, everyone.